Hey, I'm Justina from Linguistic Adventurer, and you're listening to Curious Introverts' Journeys into English and Beyond, the podcast where people like us find our voice and connect through meaningful conversations. Each episode brings inspiring stories from guests who've turned their quiet nature into a superpower while mastering English. No small talk here, just deep, authentic chats to help you improve your English and embrace who you are. Let's get started. Meet Asha. Originally from Poland, she's a Caucasus region expert, Georgian teacher, and a polyglot speaking 7 languages. Think being quiet or introspective holds you back? Well, Asha's story might just change your mind. In this episode, we dive into how she turned her introversion into a strength, building deep connections across languages. We also chat about how a single moment can change the course of our lives and what truly inspires or irritates us to start learning a foreign language. And if you're interested in learning Georgian or Armenian, you can check out Asha's courses on her Instagram at Languages of the Caucasus. And if you're an introvert needing help with English, stay tuned. I'm working on a course just for introspective learners.
Hey Asha, maybe that's my chance now to practice my Georgian.
ګامر Rogur-Khar.
𝘸𝘪𝘮𝘺𝘺𝘵. Dashen.
Մեծ კარგად, მადლობა.
Kargat. So Asha, nice to see you and nice to finally meet you face to face because we've been chatting a little bit on Instagram or commenting.
Yeah,
I guess our nerdy language sides are coming out. I guess I'm just presuming.
Yeah, probably.
It's nice to see you live, and also for me it's interesting for you because I watched your podcast and I came to your lives, and I guess how is it for you now to be a guest? Does it happen a lot to you, or
that's a different side, so you have to switch a little bit from not asking questions to people, but I hope I can share some interest, so that's a switch for sure.
Yes, I'm really curious and excited to hear because I followed you on Instagram when you probably know. You can probably tell I will fall into the typical person that goes to Georgia and then is like, yes, like this is the place I need to.
It happens a lot. Yeah,
and
just be aware.
Yes, and I think your profile popped out somewhere, I guess, I don't know, because I was looking at the pictures and then Instagram picks it up and I was like, oh, okay. And then I've seen you speak, I forgot how many languages, but there is quite a number that.
Yeah, that's 7, but on different levels. It doesn't mean that everything is like C2 or native like, but it's from communicative. I can go somewhere or watch some films, etc.
Yes. So can you tell maybe a little bit? Because I mean, for people who don't know you, the expert on the Caucasian region. Initially, I thought you were doing Georgian, but then the more I watched your podcast and stuff, I'm like, wow, she's like. Really speaks. So which languages do you speak or communicate?
So obviously Polish, because that's my native tongue, and English, as I may hear, because that's the path like every child that was my age was following in Poland, that we started in the kindergarten or school. And I know also German, Russian, because that's how it started, like the second, the third language Russian started, and then I know obviously Georgian. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm right now a Georgian language teacher and one of the few, I think, in the world in general who are Norwegian by origin, and I teach Georgian. So those are, I always forget them. So there is Korean as well, because I speak Korean, like to the extent I can go to the holidays and I understand some Korean films, dramas, extent, because I like the culture, etc. And I like the alphabets. So that's when that's a fun fact. Yeah, maybe that's a fun fact.
Yes, tell me.
For the viewers, yeah. So when it started with Chinese, but Chinese was I was a little bit reluctant. Everyone says that it's impossible, etc. And it's it was quite hard for me with all the tones. I started watching a Chinese series like dramas. This is like C-drama, a Chinese drama, and then I switched to Korean. So I found out this new word for me, and it was very fascinating when I learned that not like the pictograms or whatever, but this is actual alphabet or letters there. And then I said, okay, I need this alphabet alphabet. So this is how it started with Korean. Yeah, and it was
Wow.
so exciting. I speak Korean as well. I speak a little Armenian, so from the Caucasus region, but that's something I'm mastering right now. And I speak French, but I'm not using that very often. So that's a language when I, for example, listen to or watch like Emily in Paris, for example. Lots of people watch it. Yeah, so when they speak French, then my French language like switches, like turns on back. So how it goes, and yeah, that's in general the main ones. I think I have, because sometimes I forget about it. Yeah, but also I study right now a little bit of Azerbaijani and also Chechen and English. So those are the languages, if you haven't heard about them ever. So those are from the Caucasus region. Yeah,
Yes,
so
I mean, I
this
have
is
like
the beginners.
Azerbaijani, yes, Chechen, but I guess because I was studying Russian as well. Because you mentioned that you studied English, I want to actually ask. I mean, I have many questions. Now, the more you talk about languages, I'm like, wow, I want to ask him. I want to grill you, as we say, like on everything.
I'm ready.
Yes, you mentioned Chinese. So I have a lot of Chinese students, and I pick like a little bit Chinese. But for me, always when I see the writing, I'm like, to me, it's as some different code or something unreal. But it's so. How did you all like? What motivates you, or I don't know, was it maybe who or what that because sometimes we have those inspiration and interesting stories I hear from people, or even like my story. Because for me, English, I only started learning English I think when I was 13, because I was so quite late. The kid of the 90s, but maybe I guess because I come from a very, very small village, so we were still that era of my first language, like the year 4 we were learning Russian as a first, but I got into English myself, and the time till I started officially at school, I was just like going crazy and learning from books by myself. And from those, I was saying to one of the girls, I don't know if you remember, maybe I think it was called like Easy English, they could get in the shops, like an English magazine. So I was getting this one with the cassette and like everything. But so I wonder, like with Chinese, like what inspired you that you used it?
Yeah, so with all those languages, it started simply with the culture. So that's always something that I say to my Georgian friends. You have to promote the country with the culture. Like look at South Korea, for example. Like all the world wants to learn. So if it's want to learn Korean right now, yes, K-pop, K-drama, whatever. So for me, it started with it. So I just started learning. And the fun fact, maybe for some of you who are also viewing that and thinking about your own path with a language. For me, with Chinese, it was like after the whole day of work, when I started watching like C-drama, a Korean TV series like this, it was just so relaxing. Like no matter what they were saying, just the tone of the language, the melody of the language.
Melody,
yes, exactly. Like of course the drama part where they're scolding each other. That is a little bit strange. Europeans like, what do you do? But everything started exactly with the melody. So that's where I started looking. I was looking further for other dramas, and then I found out the Korean words, let's say, South Korean words, and I started watching Korean dramas and listening to Korean music. So then everything started exactly with the melody. So the fact that when I was listening to it, it was just so relaxing. So that's in some of the languages it happens for me. Like when I started, for example, learning Vietnamese, because I had an episode, let's say, of learning Vietnamese. That's my plan. I want to come back to this one day. For that, for example, it started when I went to Vietnam, and I decided I love this country and I really want to understand what people are saying there, because it's completely different. Like you for me at least, I cannot pick up anything because they also have tones, etc. And that was I think very interesting path into going into different culture via language. And the same goes, for example, with Georgian. I started learning Georgian because I'm like political scientist and I'm specializing in the South Caucasus. So I thought, okay, if I want to be a specialist in this region, I do need to understand what people are saying there, not only what someone has translated it.
Yes, because like the languages you can't separate. Like, I think there's still like the old way of teaching on that grammar, but language is not just the words that you read. Of course, you read it, you learn it, you listen to it, but it's the whole cultural load and the emotion that goes behind it. It's like little things that, you know, you are, I think, you are a translator as well.
Yes.
I remember even when I was at university, we had, our professor was teaching us, we had this example about, I think, Eskimos, that they have, I think, like 15 names for the color white.
Yes.
Because it's obviously they live
It's
in
the most important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then he was saying, how can you translate into other languages, you know, because it carries all the emotion, the 50 names of the snow they have. How can you put it into other language to keep all the emotion, feelings, like obviously probably the culture, the scenario? You lose something, but you as a translator, you know that's the case. But I said I have so many questions, like even with Georgia, because you said you were studying like the political science, the Caucasus. Like, where was the idea from to go and study that?
So from the because I started with political science and politology, you can call it as well this way, like international relations, and because that's something that was really fascinating for me in the high school. And then I thought, okay, but I cannot like analyze the whole world. I need to have some kind of specialization. And then I remember, that's a story I always tell, but maybe it will be fun for some of you as well. So it happened. I remembered one situation. I think this is, I'm always saying that this is something that completely changed my life, because maybe some of you remember, some of you maybe not. Like 21 years ago, it is very, it sounds strange right now, but
I can relate.
Like that.
Yeah. I guess with the kids of the 90s.
I was sitting at my kitchen table and I was watching the news, and that was November. In November 23, because it was during the night on 2003 in Georgia, there was so-called Rose Revolution. So that was a moment, one of the like changing moments in the contemporary modern life of Georgians, of the country, etc. And that was the moment when I, for the first time, to be honest, like I was already in high school more or less, but that was the first time I saw, what's that country? I saw the men like and women going to the parliament, barging in and with the roses, and like one guy who became the president that time was drinking the tea of other president. I thought, this is cool country.
What did I do there?
Yeah, what did I do there? That is so interesting. And so, like totally not as what we know from Poland or from our European side, Central Europe or Western Europe, because those things were not happening that time that much. And when I was for several years, when I was already at university, I thought that was very interesting country. I need to know more about them. So I started digging up the Caucasus region. What is it about? And I was already to some extent interested in like post-Soviet area, because that was also one of them, but not as we had in like Central Europe, but more in the USSR post-Soviet countries. So then I thought, okay, but I don't want to be just dealing with Russia, and I just went for Georgia, and then I spread it out my interests for the whole Caucasus right now. Yeah, so that's how it started, everything. So it all started with the one night that changed lives of Georgians and me as well.
I love stories, like this, because when you look back, it's just literally something like which seems so trivial or ordinary, and then I don't know, it clicks for you and you get passionate about it. Like for me, I said, like when I look back now, I'm like, where did my idea like with English started? And then I was like going back and digging up, and then I was actually my cousin when she was coming from America to Poland. I was 6, 7, probably that was that, because I was in a small village in Poland, very small. And then you discover, is it like she can speak some different language? And as a kid, like you like, I have my own language, but then somebody else speaks with the other. But even when you're saying about Georgia, like you how it started, and coming back to Georgia, when I think how I wanted to go to Georgia, and then I look back in the same, I think it was 2017 or something, and then I think on Instagram I seen, I don't know, friend of a friend put a picture, I think it was Getty Church, and I was like, wow, like the mountains so green, this church on the top. I was like, what's this? Of course, as you said, I know that there is this Georgia, the country, because I know, but it's kind of seems distant. And then I started looking, I want to go there. It looks so green, so beautiful nature. I have to go. And then it took me a few years. I made it last year. And then you go, wow, it exists, not something imaginary. It's there.
But the thought stayed with you, when you say that's something also that I think starts with languages, that you want to know more simply. You just, I'm not sure how it is with you, but for me, it's just, I get so irritated, I would say, the moment that someone is speaking different language and I cannot understand what they are saying. And it's even worse when they write it in different alphabet. Like, what is happening here? And I just need to really understand it.
And curiosity and like, even if I go short trip somewhere, like for a few days, I have that, I don't know whether it comes the personality or your life experience, because I said as a kid in Poland, I wasn't even going many places in Poland because at the time my family couldn't afford it. So then you discover something and I'm like this kind of, as you said, maybe a bit irritated, but also like this hunger. I want to know. There's so many cultures, so many people, as you said, the languages. So even if I go somewhere, even the first time I was going to Georgia, literally my friends taught me some hello, thank you, how are you? And then I was going around and be like, hey, and then it's so funny, but also beautiful, because even with these little few words, you can make so many connections, even if it's just like for 5 minutes. I will be chatting with grannies on the street or the bazaar. And then even if you then switch to another language, it's still that little spark that, we can create the connections and then even some of the friendships. It's amazing.
It's different words.
Yes, exactly. But what about English? Because you said you started like very early with learning English. Because I don't know, maybe in the bigger town and you had more access than us village kids. As I joke, sometimes we are secluded.
So I started with English. To be honest, I hated English. Like I can
really?
say it officially.
Okay, tell me.
I hate it because when you're a kid and your parents tell you have to study it because you will need it in future. And I'm very very glad that they did it, but I really hated it for several years. In general, learning languages, that's maybe shocking.
Yes.
But I did. Yeah, that was not fun at all. Like, because that's the irritation part that was that time more negative, because I couldn't understand something. So I said, if I don't understand it, like, I can live with it if I want. But right now it's a little bit different. So it started for me, I was just like learning from the kindergarten, I think. And because we had some classes, like people were trying, like teachers were trying to teach us something and we're talking, etc. And I remember like one of the moments that it was really like, I have like flashbacks from the past. But it was like in kindergarten, when the young lady comes, like the teacher comes, and they said, oh, call this cauliflower. But I said, I know this is like Polish word for that, and said, no, use English. And I couldn't remember it because at that time I wasn't aware of that because I was like 6. But for me it's quite hard when someone is not writing that for me and I cannot revise it, but I have to do it like on spot. They say, this is the word and use it right now and talk to other kids. And for me, that was very challenging. So of course, when you are a kid and you're not doing very well in the exercise, for me at least, it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. And stop playing.
Especially as a kid, you don't understand. And then you kind of feel like as if something is wrong with you because you can't do something. So
exactly.
Your confidence can definitely go down.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons. I think that the method was okay because the rest was playing along. It was lots of fun, but for me, playing like market, etc. in English, when I couldn't really remember that fast as words, and there were lots of words, and I wanted to do it, of course, perfectly, or at least in a way that I know that for sure it is correct to get A.
Yes.
So that was one of the reasons why I think it blocked me. Like one of the reasons why I couldn't really enjoy the English language. Like step going further and going to school and going to different like evening classes, let's say additional private lessons. It really changed. So, as you may hear, I speak some English right now. So that's how it ended. But I remember like that it was rough, and to some extent it was similar with German because that was my second language, and there was a decision, let's say, that's in my family that is the moment I need to start learning the second language, and I think that's like right now I think it was a good one, but that time it was a little bit stressful as well, because I had to go along this path once again. again, but I was also the youngest in the group because that was a group for adults, and at that time I was like in gymnasium, so it's like high school, school, like 13, 14 years old, with people who are like students or working already. So that was a bit challenging as well. But however, the learning style was already different. It was more like read it on your own, and then we'll have a dialogue, let's have a listening, like different approach. And that really helped me, I think, going with German as well, like like different way of studying.
So I see it's a little bit like, in a way, that it gave you a little bit of like a preparation time, as in not throw you right on the spot, so you're like stressed and you're like as we say, like running like the headless chicken, like what's going on, I can't do it. I mean, especially if you start learning the language, you need to, because we're learning from zero. Like I always explain to my students, you like a baby. Imagine literally first you learning the ba 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 ga ga ga, the syllables, and then you have to go, so you don't have that, even the word bank to use it. So it's a little bit stressful, but it's interesting to see like how your relationships to English or German learning switched with the approach. So I think it ties in, like, because I'm like trying to read between the lines whether we're talking about like the introversion, whether that had an impact maybe, or you started noticing like when you realized maybe, because me as a kid, and then when I speak to other people, they feel like, as a kid, you also don't have that awareness, of yourself, because you're growing, you're developing. And as a 6-year-old, you don't go like, oh, yes, I think today I'm angry because this and this happened. No, you just feel something is not right, but you maybe don't know what. So how was it for you? Have you noticed, was there a time that you were like, maybe my personality is a little bit different from others? How was it for you, if you can...
So for me, I think it's it wasn't from the beginning for sure. But at school, I was totally not aware, and that was that. Maybe right now it's a little bit different, because I sound like an old lady right now, but maybe for kids nowadays it's a little different, because there is internet, and like people are talking more about it, etc. And people are very like self-aware and focused on themselves, even already if they're like 10 years or 12 years old.
Yes, but I think it's that boom of psychology and self-development.
Exactly.
You probably, many people can relate. As you say, even 10 years ago, if you said you're going to therapy, people would be like, are you like, okay? You work a lot of stigma.
Is it serious?
Yes, exactly. And now it's kind of considered as if you broke your leg, you go to hospital. I don't know, you feel like, exercising, you get a personal trainer. So I think if you're struggling with something, I can go to therapist. We have a session. He helps me. She helps me. I move on. Helps with my life. Kind of the tools.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, when I say I'm introvert, it's shocking for some people when they meet me. I'm not sure. Hey, was it for you? Because the fact is that when I, for example, right now when I do some videos, I have lives, etc., or even when I conduct trainings, because I'm not only the language ones but also business trainer. So that's surprising for some people, but I know that for me it's like, first of all, there are different introverts. It's not like when I'm introvert, I just want to sit at home and no one is like needs to be looking at me and no one can talk to me, and that's really problematic. So that's a first part. Then the second is, I know that I need to like recharge and remind after the big events. So that's something I learned along the way. I was very surprised many times in the past when I was, for example, doing public speaking or some conferences, etc. And that was quite maybe not challenging the moment that when I was talking to other people, like standing on stage, etc. But afterwards, I needed some time, like a break, to recharge my batteries. So that's when I started noticing things like that. That's for me also, it's even more fun to stay Sunday at home, like with no one, or in a calm space. Yes, like no triggers for me, please. And but as you mentioned, only like several years ago, I think I started naming it that's because all the time I was thinking like, no, introvert is someone who is like not able to speak to other people. And if I go on stage or if I do trainings, I also have been working as a manager. So for people, I was running teams and leading teams. So that was also to some extent surprising also for me, because I thought I'm not that much of extrovert, but like I'm normal.
Yes.
Yeah, but no matter what it means, that was the thought. Yeah, but right now I know that's for first of all, it translates also to the way I learn languages also, and I learn other things. I know that's, as I mentioned with the example from the kindergarten, it's very challenging for me if someone just gives me something and they expect me to do, and not maybe if it's like 101, that's fine, I can live with that. But if it's a big group and I see that other people are doing something, I want to get along, but it's hard for me, etc. So that's a moment I like my introvertism kicks in to some extent, and also like the worry and perfectionism and things like that some introverts have as well.
Because the more I talk with people, you kind of see like whether it's all connected, perfectionism, overthinking, but I guess maybe goes with the the introversion, like introspective. We think a lot, we are very self-aware, we observe a lot, we're curious, we can scan the rooms, kind of I don't know, in a way like a detective kind of style, looking at things.
Yes, as you mentioned, exactly that's that. I was thinking about it because right now I'm talking also to other teachers, because we want to also have like Armenian classes, etc. And I need to explain that the style that of teaching, let's say. And also that's a feedback that I often get also when I'm like either language teacher or a trainer on different situations when I have to interact with people. And often what I hear, that you are very observant, like you can to some extent read the room, and you can, I feel that you, let's call it like see me. It sounds a little bit like from the rom-com, yeah, but it's like you see my needs, you can follow that. I think that's one thing that helps in this situation. That's something that I'm more focused on other people and how they react, because for me it's also important that I want others to like to give me this space and not trigger me that much. Yeah, but the same with learning languages. When I'm a student, I always try to tell my teachers like what are my needs. Like you cannot snow me under lots of words, yeah, etc. Yeah, so I think that helps us as well. So if you're struggling with that, maybe that's something that will help you. But to some extent, it's also good to say like it's something that I needed also some I would say courage to tell that to my teachers, because I was struggling a little bit with that as well, the introvert.
Yes,
yeah,
I know.
to tell about myself. Yeah, but then I noticed it really helped me also with just progressing with my study. So that's something I figured out along the years.
Yes, because as you say, we live and we learn. I think I can totally relate what you say, because in the past I would be the same. I'll be like, I'll be quiet, I just get along. I'm scared to say something. But now I'm more, even I would say even this past year, with other things, I learned that I will ask people for help. Before, I don't know whether it's introversion or just, other things coming in, that I would be always like, I can do it by myself, I can figure it out. And at times I'll be getting really stressed that I can't make the progress like quick enough to see the result. But now I'm like, okay, I can ask people, and then they actually want to help you, because you're, I don't know how to do this, and then people, okay, I can help you, I can explain because I already done it. And then you go, oh, it makes life easier, right? And people know, and they can help you, or even if they don't want to, at least you tried and you expressed, and you can move on, go on further. So do you think that introversion helped you? I'm trying to think if there's any, because we are obviously good listeners, as you said, we observe. So do you think that helped you with all the languages Because I don't know, for me, I can see from the perspective that all that time before school that I was learning English by myself from books, magazines, and everything. Now I think, wow, that was actually cool, because I was sitting by myself, kind of like my introverted oasis. Nobody, I'm just in the books, I'm writing, because I like writing, I'm visual. So if I write things down, even in color, underline, I'm like, all that time I spent, I was actually building up even my vocabulary for when you read all the grammar, the context, structures, and then like, boom, I can go out and like later use it. So I don't know, how was your experience? Do you think that helped you?
I would say to some extent, I think it helped me, for example, with speaking. That was when I was thinking about today's conversation. I also like found in my head one situation where I remember I was first time in London. So for people also learning English, that and I think it translates to other languages. You'll
yes,
see. You'll tell me. But I remember when it was like that, when I was more or less like 15 years, like 16, something like that. And that time it was very popular. I'm not sure where it's right now, for children to go to like language camps. So often from Poland, we were traveling like to different cities in Great Britain, in UK, just for 2 weeks course, and you were living with English or British family, and you needed like to talk in English with them and to see, experience everything. Yeah. Oh gosh, that was very hard, like living with strange people. But it was okay. I remember the first situation when we were already in London, and we were waiting for our coach to go to the other city, because we were living in the smaller city, and I needed to buy a bottle of water. So at that time, I was already, after several years of studying at school, at different private lessons, but still as a kid. And I remember I was like mastering my courage to come to the person selling water and I don't know, gums and like, candy bars and things like that. I was like, I remember I was going like 3 rounds of saying in my head, is it fully correct? Yes, exactly. Like, I would like, no, I need to say, I want, no, it will be the third round. You did the same. Oh, God, you did. That's great. I'm the only one. So and then I came up to this person. I said like this beautiful, very polite sentence, and she said, "Yep, here it is." And I said, "Gosh, what happened here?" I know. Yeah, I was expecting like some, Queen King style of English, and she says like with some accent, and I was mastering my accent, like British accent, beautiful, etc. And she said, "Yeah, that's it. I have fun." Yeah.
Yes, I know. Yes,
that was it.
I'm the same. And for me, I was like the top of the class with my English. Because for me, it was like languages were actually easy, because I had Russian, then English. You just kind of flow for me. If you put me to do some science, math, like I would cry, like literally my body would be like, no. But English, Russian, I'm like, yeah, wow, cool. It's easy. But when I first came to, I think it was after high school, I came like for 3 months to earn money before university. So it was the same the first few weeks, even though, I had vocabulary, the listing and stuff. It was a clash. I remember like the same. I was like, what do I say? Somebody says to me, did he say this or that? Like, I'm not sure. The other part comes in, like, because I don't know, it was for you, but where I was learning was still that method of word for word translation. You have to know every word that you read. So then in your head, like at that time, we didn't have the Google Translate. So it was like, this. Somebody says something to me in English. Then I kind of in my head translated into Polish, then translated back to the English. Then I say, and I felt like, wow, this little process, it feels like it's going on for 20 minutes, but that was probably like 20 seconds. By your brain, you feel like, oh my gosh, they judge me. They like, what would I say? As you say, like, and you rehearse in your head, would you do that? And then just go like, yeah, whatever, here you are. So it's very
exactly, yeah. They exactly know them.
Yes. Do you think it changed for you like over time? Because for me, I was at the beginning, I was very scared, but then I think that the moment that I actually came to UK and I've seen, wow, I can speak English. There is so many cultures, so many people, so many things to discover. And then later on, I went for my Russian course on a student exchange to Bulgaria. And I was first initially, because Russian was my second language. I like it, but I didn't feel as comfortable in Russian as I am in English. And then, of course, I was really stressed. But after some time, I'm like, okay, I need to give myself the talk and be like, listen, Justina, you're here for 6 months. You're being paid. You better take the chance. Either you're being quiet for 6 months and you don't try, or you just go in and do it. And then I think that changed for me a lot. So now, even if I go to have a Georgian class with the teacher, I'm like, I talk like, if I listen to myself and analyze later, I'm like, oh my God, what I was talking about, what I was making. But then it's okay, it's fun. So I think just, I don't know, it was for you. I want to know if the process changed for you with English or with other languages, because it's interesting. So I wonder if you could tell me, as you mentioned the experience in English, and did that change for you later on, or maybe was it the same with other languages that you were learning, speaking?
Yeah. So for me, I think it changed a little bit. Like, of course, I gained the confidence that I can speak, and I just, I would say maybe like that. I gained the confidence. However, it's like that. What the moment that I'm learning new language, and the same that I discovered that it really helps. For example, our students when I teach them Georgian. That's a fun fact. Like my struggles help them and really other people to talk in Georgian and speak Georgian, because what I do, like and when I was the same, it goes for Korean, for example, and other languages. I love to like have prepared some kind of bits, like when it is, for example, with food, you have preheated something, like you just put it into one place and heat it together, and there you have a meal. So that's what I did with other languages as well, with English, as I told you, and the same, for example, the recent examples I have when I was in Korea. And of course, my Korean is not as fluent as it is with Georgian or English, so I have to prepare a little bit some of the phrases, like I need to practice them. And what I do, for example, I always practice the way of introducing, because very often people ask you exactly the same questions. Where are you from? If you interact already with natives, where are you from? Oh, how good it is that you speak this language. Yes. How do you learn it, etc., and things like things like that. So this is something that you already to some extent can rehearse. You can practice. It's like a dry run you can do with your teacher, for example.
Script, like you can have like a cheat sheet in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And very often you can just follow the path, follow I would say the framework, and just put the words there that you need to other words. Like, for example, you want to buy something, and instead of this, my water for my example, but you can say something else like a cake or whatever.
Exactly.
So that's what helped me when, for example, I'm going let's say to another place in another country, and I know some words, but I always try to figure it out. Okay, so how can I say it with the vocab that I have? And what I do, like some people do, is like they just start talking. And I think what for me as an introvert, what helps me is that I need to think what I need to do, what I want to say, and I have to like this muster the courage to talk to strangers. And for that to do, I need to prepare myself. And then with other language, I use that opportunity to just put some simple phrases, like, for example, I want this. Yes, I always tell my students that if you don't know how to say, would you give me that one? You can totally say, I need this.
It's interesting, because I always, the students, especially the adults, I tell them, try to think like you are a 5-year-old again. And you learning like your own language. And as you say, exactly the same example I said, you can say, excuse me, like, in England, how we say the very polite way. I go to the supermarket and I learn, sorry to bother you. I was wondering if you could help me because I can't find this and this and that.
Exactly.
Would you mind showing me? And it's like a long, but as you say, you can just use whatever you have. And as you say, okay, instead of doing this long speech, you can go, I want this, or even you can go with the very primitive, just one word and be like, this, want. No grammar, no beautiful thing, but you communicate, you get the message. So this water, me, you got it, you drink it, mission completed.
Yes, exactly. And that's what helps, I think, in the moment that you're like, let's say, different types of still, it helps you because you have some kind of example from the past that it works. So it's not such like completely strange alien feeling for you that you have to talk to someone like from other country, but you have already some examples in your head that, okay, I did it, the war hasn't ended. Yes, everything is more or less smoothly. I can achieve it. What I need, they were not telling me that I'm like crazy or whatever. And that helps us like each and every small situation when you say at least 1-2 words in other language, then it helps you really then to build up your sentence and to add other words, etc. And the time will come for that. But the moment that you will not start from the beginning, it is very hard even to say those beautiful sentences that you would translate in your head. So that's really what When I say it right now, it's obvious, but when I remember, I have been looking at that several years ago when I haven't discovered it yet in myself, let's say. Yeah. I wanted just to underline, it's great that we talk about it, because I remember that was something I needed to figure it out on your own. So right now, after listening to Justina's podcast and all this information here, you know what to do. You have some tips and tricks, and I think that's really helpful right now for others. Yeah, you don't have to figure it out on your own simply.
And I think it shows because you are the teacher as well. So that's why now I'm like, I always preach. I'll be like, listen, I did this. And as you said, it takes time. Like we need to discover it by ourselves. It was a road, sometimes not easy. So now I'm like, listen, you can take a shortcut and you can get there quicker. You don't have to learn all these years. You can just use it on the spot, and it's working. so it's really funny. And like, as I said, so I always say to the students, try that and you will see, and also it boosts your confidence. So do you think over time the languages helped you with the introversion? Did it build your confidence, or what was the
I think it helped me just to like enter new worlds. That's what I always say, because I first of all, like with language, when for example I can experience the culture, I can experience more the history, I can understand it more. That's really helpful for me to widen my horizons. That's maybe a cliche, but that's what it is. Yeah. So and then when I know the language, it's for me it's much easier to like go deeper into this culture, to start the interactions with people as well. Now, so that's for sure what I think helped me when I figured it out, like how do I work? What are the ways for me to learn as well? And then, for example, what I often do, that's probably obvious because I'm introvert, I love to read. And it's like, it's first I want to read about something and then to get to know other people and to talk with them. So I think that I'm like prepped for this conversation from different standpoints. And that's for sure what really helped me. And as you mentioned at the beginning, that with language is very often the means to get to know further, and you cannot just learn the language because you need to also understand very often those like cultural codes and historical codes and all those like pieces that people, like the natives, they say from this language, they know it from the beginning, from the moment they are born, because they live in this culture and they're like they feel it simply.
Yes.
So it really helps with the language also to get some jokes maybe, or to get also the melody or the emotions of the language, because you can prepare for that. So I think English, I would put with English, this is a more, let's say, not so emotional as it is, for example, with Georgian. It's more of like being polite, to some extent modest, like a standard stereotypes we think very often. With Georgians, very often, or for example, sometimes with Korean as well, that is, it is more emotional language. My friends sometimes what they say, when I speak Georgian, for example, I sound different because the language as such, it just makes it when you want to really speak Georgian, you have to do some like, oh gosh, how it happened, what happened, and different elements, exaggerations. Yes. Yeah, and with Korean, for example, it's like you are more, I'd say, polite, but in different way. Like you have to speak proper Korean, you have to intonate some words differently, because in English you say good morning, and in Korean you say annyeonghaseyo. So it's like the melody, it's a little bit different. Yeah, and everything like with that. So you already like go into those patterns of behaving a little bit different, but when you know it, you study it, that's much easier to go into this culture, not to be like surprised with it and clash with it the moment that someone talks to you. Yeah, so that's, I think, like for introverts, when you are introvert, to get this preparation for that and to study and to listen to the melody and to be aware of it and to get some like your thought analytics behind it that really
Mhm.
helps as well to get along. Because for me, I'm more like introvert. Like I once saw it is called like social introvert. It means that I have no problem talking, like, as we do right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I in token stages I can conduct a training for many people. Let's say I think up
Mhm.
to 100. That was the biggest amount of
Wow.
people that I had
I'm not
trainings
at
with.
this stage
Yeah,
yet.
but it is tiring for sure.
Mm.
However, for me, it's like I don't have like huge group of friends. Yeah, so I don't interact immediately with people unless it is like business situations. Unless I know exactly like what is the purpose. Just coming approaching a stranger and say, "Hello, my name is Sasha. How are you? We haven't met yet, but I just want to talk to you because you
Yes.
look so whatever."
Yes.
Yeah, that's what. There is no purpose. You can
Yes, just
convince me.
the
And
small talk
yeah.
what we have, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for maybe this is like my ways and my tricks work in my situation. Probably when you are introverts, like of different type, and you are triggered and being tired by different situation, or then probably you have to figure it out a little bit on your own, like what really works for you and how to prep for that, etc. Because then probably you just need to work on different elements.
Yes, like the trial
Yeah.
and error discovering of
Yes,
what's good for
exactly.
you. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I mean, for me, I feel I try to think and analyze, but I feel like for me, English definitely helped me a lot because when I think about myself, how I was in Poland for like 24 years when I lived there, and after that I moved here, I would say in Polish, I'm very shy. I mean, now it's better, but I would say like very, not the small talk, but maybe also comes, as we say, with the culture, because we Polish people, we also, I would say, more, either we go to the point and it's short and that's
Yeah.
that's straight to business. So I feel like then with English, but I was thinking whether it also comes with the fact that I was like, I'm going here abroad, that's my chance to, because obviously one thing I wanted to come to England, but the other thing is also the immigration, the financial aspect of it. I was like, I need to go here and money, but then also I wanted to do, because my fixation was like, I don't know, it was for you, I'm like, I was, I don't know, 13, 16, and I was like, I will move to England one day. Like I already decided. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
And I'll be speaking English every day. I don't know how I will do it. I was like, at that time when people were like, oh, if you go to university, what do you be doing? Some people, oh, maybe I want to be a doctor. Maybe I want to be this. I'm like, I don't know, but I know that I want to speak English and I want to think in English. And I was like,
Yeah.
and then at some point I said, like when I was 16, I was like, yeah, and maybe also I want to have an English husband so I can speak English like all the time.
That's clever.
Yes. I don't know, as a 16-year-old, I was like not even probably even dating at that time. I was like, yeah, and I want an English husband so I can speak English. Like, don't have to go for classes. I can just speak English. Didn't work out with the British husband yet, but at least I'm in England for 13 years and my life is here. So it's like a fixation. But that's, as I said, so for me, also coming, as you mentioned, when you came to London for a trip, yes, I remember the first time I came was very stressful, but then I don't know, grew, or maybe I thought, okay, I need to do it. And then that's my chance to practice. At school, we didn't speak English at all, like barely. So I was like, now it's my time. I can put my knowledge that I was accumulating over years to go out and use it actually in real life. So I think that helped me a lot, because I always compare English I know, then Russian came in, then some Bulgarian that I speak. I can go to a restaurant, I can speak with a taxi driver or like a small talk situation. So I feel like it was with, I can see like when I compare Russian, then I felt, yeah, there was a stage I was like, I'm not speaking, I have a strong Polish accent when I speak Russian. Don't really judge me for that. The word stress in a word itself, it's, for me, it's always all over the place because in Polish we always have the very last syllable. It can be anywhere depending on the case even.
Yes.
So I felt that was stalling me, but then I was like, okay, I think the time in Bulgaria, I was like, I need to flip it. And now I'm the same. Now people, my friends from Russia, Moldova, Kazakhstan, they'll be like, yeah, do you have Russian grandma? I'm like, no. So at the beginning I was scared, but I'm like, no, I have to do it. So I think now it helped me, like with Bulgarian, now even with Georgian, I'm like, I don't remember the words. I can't construct the proper sentence, but then I'll be like, oh, I just have fun and I'll be creative, and then funny situation can come, and at least I have funny memories, not like, oh, did I use grammar correctly? No, maybe I made somebody laugh because I said something silly that makes sense. So maybe was it for you similar with the other languages? You say you were going to Korea, and so did you feel like at the beginning maybe it was something that was holding you back, but then it helped you to progress or be more confident, not as afraid as you would have been in the previous situations or the settings that you were learning? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. When I start using the language, when I think in real life situations, and that's what I always encourage others to do as well. Just to start, as you mentioned, start small, just play with the words that you know. And for me, it really helped as well. And also, like what I figured out, because one of the things that sometimes I get scared about, and I'm a little afraid that when I say 1 or 2 sentences, they will think that I can say everything, and I will like disappoint them with not knowing that much. So what is good in this situation, not to be scared, like with someone is like throwing the whole sentences at you and you have no clue what they said because you just prepared those several ones. So if there's like basic conversation, it's just to also to have prepared some kind of a sentence, like a sentence, I can speak only a little, or I don't know that much, something like this. And often it works in those situations, and people get, okay, that's fine, and they start just to speak to you also in an easier way. The extent, of course, they can figure it out, because if you're native, you don't have this awareness, like what is easy for the foreigner and what is not so easy, because for you everything is probably easy or something. So that's to some extent. So that's also what I do encourage, like my students or people with whom I sometimes work, and help them advice on how to learn other languages. So to be prepared, not only like to have your sentences, but also to learn some potential response,
like
and
be
yes, exactly. And as I mentioned, that plan B, the moment that they just start talking. In Georgia, it happens very often. Like people get, so probably you have encountered that to some extent when you start. Yes. Just say with hello, how are you? I want this, and they say, "Whoa, speak Georgian."
Yes, I had the same. Even the first time I came last year, and I went for 1 month, and I had some friends, and I was like, "Okay, tell me hello, how are you? Thank you, bye." Okay, and I landed like going, and I was like already at this stage. I'm like excited. Okay, I can go and use those words. It's fun, and I'm just like, and then they just go, as you say, blah 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 blah, and they go like, "Oh, so you fluent?" And I'm like, and I would just learn, as you say, plan B, Polonetti. I didn't even say, I don't know, because Polonetti is Polish or Poland. I didn't even know at the time.
Just Poland,
my friends were saying, oh, because we work Polonetti or whatever. So I was just like, Polonetti. And then I'll be, okay, can we speak Russian? I'm really, and I would just literally say, oh, I'm sorry that I only speak those little few words. I'm really sorry. I wish I know more, but I'm just learning. And then even because obviously you talk a lot about, we have the political situation now in Georgia, and then even on the groups, like people are talking that, oh, if you use the language, then it's bad. But I always read those comments and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I've been there 3 times and I use the little Georgian that I know, and then I switched to obviously Russian, but then I was also like, I think it's with the awareness that maybe we as introverts have, that I'm like very polite and respectful, and I would literally be saying, I'm really sorry. I know that this language might be a problem because of your politics and what's happening. I really wish, like genuinely, as you say, that irritation. I'm like, I really wish I have a bigger conversation with you in your language, but I'm very limited. And then people are very open, understanding. They have conversation. Grandmas will be teaching you words at the market, like, oh, this is plum in Georgian, we say this. And I'm like, thank you, amazing. And the whole, the vibe of the situation changes, and it's really fun. And the conversation you have, or even sometimes not even conversation, but just the smile or the gesture they do, it's really fun and inspiring, even in a sense that you can do it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
This awareness you mentioned, that's also very important, like to read the room, let's say, just to know what's going on. And I think for introverts, it is easier, let's say, because it comes very often more natural to introverts. Yes, that's it. Yeah, you want to be aware, like what's going on, to be prepared, what may happen. So then by accident, you get to understand. It's easier for you. You don't have to. Because as I have some extrovert friends, they have to really focus on that. That's something that, as we as introverts, we more prep for the conversation and muster the courage to talk to someone. For them, this is the opposite. Like they have to really think about stopping themselves into going everywhere in the conversation to really focus on that person. Yeah, so I think it goes like both ways. Everything has disadvantages.
Yes, like with everything. But I wanted to ask, because obviously you teach Georgian, then you have other languages. So do you think, looking at your students that some might be introverted, some might be extroverted, do you see very big, like, I don't know, differences, or you spot maybe some trends, like they do this that way or that way? That have you noticed anything, any patterns? I'm talking now like the analyst that I used to work as data analyst. And you are the political science researcher, so I guess it probably also maybe helps you just in not even languages, but as you said, the political, the region that you study, maybe all the aspects that you can be very analytical and spot the trends, the data in things.
Yeah, so I think that you can see by the style of someone, like starts learning and they start talking in different language. So very often, not always of course, but very often when someone is more extrovert than introvert, they're more focused on what they should say, about like focusing on giving the sentence to someone, or saying the information when, for example, you go to shop at the market and you learn what you need to say. And then for introverts, it's more about, let's have the conversation, teach me what they will ask me, for example, and things like that. And also for extroverts, very often it's like, okay, I just want to speak, please don't tell me about grammar. Yes, I just want to talk. That's how it goes. And for introverts, very often like, no, let's discuss the endings, because in Georgian we have the cases. Yeah, so that's something that is not happening in English language at all. Yeah, so then they focus on, okay, I need to add this ending to this word and to understand this, etc. So sometimes it's more to let's stop doing the grammar exercises. Let's have a conversation. Do you really have to different style? But when you teach people, it's like your role to balance that and to make sure that they have a yes, exactly. So when your teacher then encourages you to do some exercises or some like this dry run of exercises that you don't want to do, what I do sometimes is, if I see that someone is not a big fan of it, I try to explain like what is the purpose, because I just to add, I only teach adults. I don't work with children because that's completely different style.
Yes.
Yeah, so in this situation, adults just learn language just a little bit different. And also like, we as adults, we learn language faster. Like, although it may seem it is not, but we learn language faster because we know already from our language the logic behind it, because we were taught that at school, no matter whether we want it or not. But we know some like what is noun, what is verb, how the sentence is being created. And for children, as I said, it's more like playing and
very abstract.
Yes, exactly. So then what I do for those like introverts, whether introvert or extrovert, I try to explain, if you learn this part, it will be easier for you doing this and that, this part that you like. So then it really helps like both. So for me, it helps as a teacher because you can go further with the exercise and with the learning process, and that helps as well the student, because they understand why we are doing that, and then they may, although there's like prolonged benefit of it, because you won't see it immediately,
exactly.
But then you
see
understand
the results quicker, and then it gives you the boost.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is works. So if I repeat that will get me to my goal.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to touch on when you said the introverts and extroverts, like we introverts, like explain to me grammar, explain the cases, is like really interesting, because for me, I wouldn't think that I'm the logical person. I'm more the creative. I also paint, draw. I need to do like manual things. So I always thought like, that like logical side of things is not for me. But the more I'm like the more years I'm teaching English, and then even the languages I know, even when I had a student from Georgia and I know a few words of Georgian, but then I can already spot that logic that, okay, you have this word in Georgian, but look at it, if we can get the pattern somehow into English, and then they go, okay, yes, that makes sense. So it's like that. Actually, I'm like, okay, yes, there is logic there. My analytical side, which I always say I'm more like creative, emotional, all the languages, that I'm pretty sure maybe some of them you put your own spin or twist on them, and I guess maybe. Do you think actually, like, because we spoke before about the personality, but do you think that even the aspect of introvert self, do you think it's maybe slightly different for you depending which language you communicate in, or do you think that doesn't matter?
That's a hard one. I think to some extent I'm a little bit different in all the languages, or like maybe not in all, but in the groups of languages. I think that we are more used to English, German, probably in our part of the world, so that's not like a big shock. I would say. I think that's when it a little bit like with the languages where there are more emotions, when I go with it, like go a little bit with the flow of the language, it helps me maybe because it's not so shocking for everyone. Like as you said, we sometimes also when we speak Polish, it's less emotion, like less peaks of emotions, like say
it's more like a kind of
modest,
business in a way, very strategic, say this, say that, go to the point, okay, we're done.
Yes, exactly. And when you say in Polish, then when you act a little bit different, then it may be surprising. Everyone is looking at you, and introverts don't probably like when everyone is looking at you like, what is happening here? So that's why sometimes when I watch, like, for example, British TV and American TV, like also, even it's English, you can see different patterns. And because I was working with Americans for lots of time, sometimes I see that when I start talking English, that's what I did in a sec. That's also like this American style of full of emotions, they say, and it's the language gives you different opportunities, like a little bit. It's not a matter like which self is your true self, whatever, but you can be like a little bit of different person, and you can take maybe from those different languages a little bit for yourself, and just be like say a little bit like more wider personality.
Yes, you know what I'm thinking,
like that,
the image I have in England, we have those mix and match shops with sweets that you go in, and you have those big boxes, and you can be like, oh, I want a little blue candies, I want a bit of these red candies, you mix them in the bag. So I kind of think like this, as you say, is a perfect example that you can pick a bit your personality, how you are, or the culture, the emotion, how people speak in Georgian, then maybe you apply it to Korean, or maybe not, because that wouldn't work. So for me, I have this one example when I go to Poland and I go to the shops and I do that, and I'm laughing what I do. The queuing from England, I do it now in Poland. Or I go to the shops and I'm all these, I talk to people, or you can go first in the queue, or even when I say, oh, how are you, to the lady, she goes like with a shock, what do you want from me? And you all like smile.
Do we know each other?
Yes, like you are too close to me now, stay away. Or I pack my shopping, and then I'm like, oh, thank you, have a great day, whatever, you have lovely hair today or something. And I'm like, oh my God,
crazy lady.
Yeah, she's like, what does she want from me? Which then I think me from 10, 13 years ago, when I was moving to England, would never do that. Or even I learned, even from Polish, I took into English, because as you say, we're saying in Polish, we're very straight on. So for me, it was one thing I remember, my brother-in-law, he would teach me first thing. I think he was even like, you being rude. I'm like, what do you mean? We're going on a bus. And I think I didn't say hello to the driver, or when I was leaving, I didn't say thank you and bye. And what did you just do? I'm like, what do you mean? Haven't done anything rude, or you have to say thank you to the driver and bye when you leave the bus, even though there is like people on that bus. And I was like, and now I go to Poland and I do the same. Those like the marszutka style, the buses that we have in smaller places in Poland. I'm like, hey, hello, like thank you so much, have a great day. But then also it's interesting, because the more I started doing it, like people initially they are shocked, but then they're like, oh, you're not this 100th person today that tells me like, why are you so slow? Open the other till. And I'm like, no, okay, I know you are busy. It's a rush hour, whatever. Like, it's okay. So gosh, Asha, thank you for accepting my invitation. It was really
thank you for
interesting. I've seen that you're doing the the culture, because we're speaking a lot about the culture thing. I've seen you doing some webinars or course on culture in Georgia, or
Yeah.
the
So
Armenian language as well. So I guess you're very busy.
So what as you mentioned, what like language goes with the culture. So I discovered that we get a lot of questions during language courses. Maybe especially that Georgian is not as common as some other languages. So that's why we just thought to mix it up with more webinars and courses about the culture. So you don't have to know the language. That's a fun fact. From some of my students, I got question. Will it be in Polish or English? Because we do it both languages, or not Georgian? Yes, because I want to understand. So, no. It's just about the culture and modern life and things like that. Yeah. So what, in general, my goal is that I went a rough path with finding all the materials in that time in Georgian.
Yes, because it's not a mainstream language, as you say.
Exactly. So what I try to do in general is to make it easier for other people, and that's why we do not only the courses, but we also do the webinars. It's just you have to register to then the recording.
It's amazing that people also show interest, that it's not just the language, but they want to be, let's say, more aware and get to know other people. Because as I say, it's not just the language, it's much more than that. And even if you can speak few words in Georgian, if you know, this maybe I shouldn't be doing Georgia, maybe I shouldn't be saying this or that, because that has some load, that might maybe even get me in trouble or might be uncomfortable. So then there's so many other things that you can learn about. George, I was looking at your language course and I was like, I want to have a call with Asha. Then I'm like, my Georgian is probably very bad. And I'm like, I was pondering to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Like,
So
will you be running another group? Because I think you're starting in October, right?
Yes. So we start, in general, we start group courses in October, but we have also some self-study materials if you don't want to study with a teacher, or like mixed style. So this is like self-paced, but you're assisted by a teacher. So you have direct contact and someone to have a conversation. So there are different options if you want to learn Georgian, or you want to learn about Georgia as well, because we have like different resources. You can either meet with people, talk with people, or just listen and ask questions, because sometimes like this YouTube webinar, when you just put a comment and you don't have to be like face to face, someone looking at you and staring. And
yes, do you have questions? Perfect for introverts. You can just come and comment and be like, yes, and I can listen to Asha.
Exactly. When
my
doing
pajamas
dishes.
Don't have to be
So we do it regularly. So we always announce it on our social media and our website. And for courses, we start in October, and then the others we have in March. Like a standard group courses, but in the meantime, there are also some opportunities. If you want to like even start with language, you don't have to commit to huge course. You just get a taste of that as well. There are different options. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I have to have a look at the webinar if I missed it. Okay, thank you so much for coming and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asha. See you.
Can you relate to my guest story? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends or anyone who might find it helpful on their own journey to embrace their quiet personality. I'm here to help you with English learning, whether you want to connect with others or turn your dreams into reality. If you'd like to leave a review, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. It will help me reach more people like us. And don't forget to check out my Instagram at linguistic.adventurer for more tips on learning English, or to ask about my one-to-one classes or group courses. Thanks for listening, and until next time.